Nils. I work as a business advisor and team leader in our sales office in Brussels for the direct sales team, meaning that we provide the service and the solution directly to our end customers. As many of you probably have seen on the agenda, there are quite some talks about the methodology of Odoo, especially today, about our Quickstart methodology. For partners, for customers, but as well for Odoo, it's very important to express a certain way that we want to deliver this software in order to do it as efficient as possible. So what I will talk to you about today, I want to focus a bit less on what Odoo actually does and more the reason why we choose a methodology and what is the difference between the Big Bang approach and a phasing approach. I will go through the different topics. I want to start very basic. Why do we actually need a strategy? Why can we not just start like that? Then the context of the different approaches, and then of course with the pros and cons, see what would be the best to do in your line of work. Just from my impression on the where you guys are from, which of you are partners? Okay, and end customers or potential end users of Odoo? Okay. So what I will tell you here is not limited, of course, to whatever type of approach the partner will decide to do. It's a vision of Odoo on what we believe is the most effective way to deliver the software. So let's first start with the beginning. Why do we need a strategy, and why can we not just go on, deliver the software, and see what we need to adjust and where? My personal experience was that when I started at Odoo 4 years ago, I was able to identify the need of the customer. I was able to provide a good demonstration. The customer understood that Odoo was able to cover their needs. For those who know Odoo 4 years ago, it was much different than it was today. We were still competing a lot with equal softwares. And when there was no specific needs, there was not this final push for the customer to say, okay, Odoo is the one that gives me that extra thing. Even though the software was integrated, when the need was a little bit less, there was still a doubt between different softwares. And actually there, I realized that, and that's actually a quote from Michael Porter. I'm not familiar with his work, but I like what he says, is that the essence of a strategy is choosing what not to do. And this is actually what Odoo is challenging their customers constantly. Why are you doing what you're doing today? And how can we do that the best way in Odoo? So what are we not going to do is develop, if not necessary. We can translate your need into a process of Odoo, but we will not go in a direction which is completely off the standard. This is not the goal of Odoo. And as soon as you realize that, you also realize that for both parties, you need to have a clear plan when you implement Odoo, in order for both parties to know what their function is during the setup of the system. So for that, for both parties, there are some do's, some don'ts, and some part of responsibility. For the customer, it means then how will my need be answered? What kind of applications will be installed? What is my role in this? Do I let everything be done by the partner, or do I have my responsibility as well? What can I expect to be delivered, and when will it be done? Is there a phasing plan? Is there will everything come at me at once? How can I prepare my employees on this? So from the customer side, it needs to be clear, how can he expect the solution to be delivered? On the implementation partner, it will be the same. The unique selling point. How do I define why I am as a partner, or we as Odoo? How are we strong compared to our competitors that actually deliver the same software? Because in the end, if you have 5 partners and Odoo on a row, why do you go from one or another? You can manage the expectations, and that's maybe the important part. We will not develop this if we don't find it suitable for you. So during the process, you will know that we will not develop it, and there will be a workaround that will be presented. But it will be, for example, in phase 2, or we will develop it, and during the Big Bang approach, you will see that solution. Guidelines and limitations for features that need to be presented, or when a solution can be delivered. And of course, a plan to fall back on. If the customer is drifting away with his requirements, or when the implementation partner goes in a certain direction to deliver a new feature, the customer or the partner can then say, okay, let's go back to the point where we discussed that we wanted to be today, and where do we stand in reality. And that is very important for both parties to see, okay, are we going in the direction that, as from the start, we discussed that we wanted to go to. In general, for those who are not familiar with the Big Bang approach, actually, as it says, the company will wait for the solution to be ready, and then from one day to another, everything will be presented in the solution in the company. Everyone will be trained, and you will use the full system from A to Z within a very short time span. So the focus is really on the demand. The customer wants something, we will develop it and we will deliver it. We will first develop, and then you will see what is there. Meaning that from the side of the deliverer, if it's either the integrating partner or if it's either Odoo, the project manager is fully busy with the solution, but actually the end user, the end customer, will not see the result until it's ready. And the third party, of course, the decision makers are involved, but until a certain level. Because what needs to be done, we need to verify this with the customer, but eventually the implementation partner or Odoo will decide, will make it and then present it. As for the phasing approach, it's a bit different because you have a different level of focus. You will focus on the product. You will discuss a first phase to start with. How do we implement the solution? You implement it right away. And along the way, you will see, okay, are there any changes that we can make in order to make this app better? Or how can we adjust the solution a little bit in order to have someone's approach or someone's process, better covered? So the customer is involved from the start because it's also expected for the customer to use the software as from the early beginning. Where the small adaptation will make sure that when a customer starts using the solution, even if it's simplest form, you already get to know the way how to redirect in the solution, maybe some changes that he already sees that need to be made in the future. And for that, he's involved in very early stages. So in global, the difference between the two approaches, there's nothing one better than the other if you would like. The Big Bang, the pros would be that it could reduce the implementation time. Meaning the customer says, I want all that, you take the list, you develop it, you come back with a solution and you implement it. Easy as. It also means that you as an implementation partner, you can check, okay, I will develop all those features, and in the end, I can do that all in once. I have one guy focusing on that for 1 week, so he's very efficient in what he does. The downside of that is that there's a high risk that, for example, the customer changes his mind, or that the specs were not written down perfectly, or that actually it's what he wants but not what he needs. So you come, you deliver something, and the customer sees the result and it doesn't perfectly fit what he wants. At the same time, if you deliver something and there's one failure somewhere in the system, means that it can have impact elsewhere in the solution. On the phasing part, if we look at the accounts first, means that it could take longer to implement. Even though they're on the side, the final implementation can take longer, but the usage of the system can be soon. The focus of the phasing, the focus is more on the part rather than the global vision, because you will first focus, for example, on CRM, where you will not yet think how CRM could, for example, impact a project management or a subscription. This will come later. The good thing is that you reduce your risk in terms of, will the customer change his mind? Will the solution fit? Because along the way, you will see how the customer will interact with the solution and how you, as an end user, for example, react internally. Will my people adapt to the solution? Will my learning curve be quicker when, for example, we introduce the sales team first to the CRM, and then our delivery service department to the project management side? And that is what the second part means. The experience throughout the project will mean that internally you will create actually more and more ambassadors working with the solution, rather than in once you have to train 5 or 6 teams at the same time. Like I said in the beginning, there's no right or wrong in the sense of an ERP implementation. Every company can decide for themselves, even the customer can have a preference in what kind of approach that they want. So how has Odoo decided which way would be the best in order to implement the solution Odoo. I need to go now. It's one of the pictures. If you Google the difference between the both approaches, you'll get this as one of the first image, and I think it translates quite well what the reaction could be of an end customer when you choose either way. If you choose for a big bang, they will always say, when will we be ready to start? Because they are not seeing anything. It's at the implementator. The implementator is working on it, it's developing every night, but as an end customer, you're just sitting there, turning your thumb, maybe you're already paying something. On the phasing approach, you can have the same type of reaction. Okay, we are busy, but there's no end. Where's the end of the tunnel? We're constantly, when there's a phase done, we again need to start and again need to start. So in both ways, you always get some reaction from the customer. But in order to make a decision, I keep on pressing the wrong button, there. In order to make a decision, you need to look at what is the type of product that we're offering. Here we talk, of course, about Odoo. So the advantage of Odoo is a modular system, so with the possibility to not do everything in once. We have the standard pricing is really low. So if our customer is an SME who wants to keep his costs quite low, we're able to do this with a standardized software. It's a very strong software. If you have seen the release of version 12, it becomes stronger and stronger every day. So we don't need to adapt it to customer needs, and we find more and more ways in the system to do it in standard. You can expand it any time. Maybe one of the biggest reasons, if you want to do a phasing approach, you don't have to decide on day one what you want to do. And of course, the aims for the worst issue, and that's actually the need why a customer is looking for a new ERP today. You can directly cover that need. You can directly support a business unit which is in need of a software, and then move your way into other departments like that. The demand from the customer is, like I said, if there's an active need for a solution, they don't want to wait 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months in order to get to start with something. The need is today, so why not resolve it tomorrow? The customer will benefit from a standard solution. The solution will be easier to maintain. Odoo has a new release every year. Not sure every software will do that, but with a heavy customized solution will also mean that the migration time will take longer. The early adaptation for the customer will mean that he can grow faster in using the software elsewhere in his company and integrate different business units. And of course, the last part, the customer will expect expertise and trust from the person who actually implements the software that will carry the rest of his business. And with all this, and maybe the last part, the expertise and trust is built a long way in the project. And the longer someone will wait to see result, the harder it is to maintain that trust. And with that, of course, I think you guys feel a bit where we're going for the conclusion, where Odoo believe the best approach will be in order to deliver the software as it is today, and that's the Quickstart methodology. For those who don't know, this is the methodology we developed in our Quickstart team, the team with our consultants that deliver the solution to the end customer on a day-to-day basis. And we start with a kickoff, and then choose phase by phase to focus on a certain department within the company. Meaning that if, for example, the customer starts with the point of sale and the sales application, we will make sure the database is set up with data. The training will be done by us or by a partner in order to make sure that that department can learn how to use the system on a day-to-day basis. And when that part is done, when that phase is ready and it's working on a day-to-day basis, then we can look on the second phase, for example, the inventory, MRP, or purchase, to then roll out the system bit by bit while already using the solution. Of course, developments and eventually in support, we can do that over time when we're seeing that, for example, there is an interaction between the sales and the inventory, which is a high need for the customer. It's still possible to do. But does it block the customer to work with the system today? No. Perfect. We can move on, and the customer can at least already have an experience and decide for himself what is really necessary in the solution. For now, that will be everything that I say on the Quickstart methodology. Catherine Vislet, with his head of the department of our Quickstart team, will have a dedicated talk on that at 2:30 in the theater. And she will make sure that whatever you need to know about the Quickstart methodology, how we do it today at Odoo, is explained in detail. Are there any questions for me at this moment? No? All right. Then I would like to thank you for your attention and have a great Odoo experience.